Hey guys, welcome back to a new episode of Hellmouth Hotline. I'm your host, Rodney Stewart. We're getting into Season 2 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer once more with an episode called Ted. Now, this one here, if it wasn't for John Ritter, I don't think this would be a good episode. It's definitely not one of the strongest in the run, but John Ritter is absolutely brilliant and absolutely everything that he was ever in, and no difference in this one. He sells the part that he plays really, really well in this episode. So let's get into Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So guys, welcome back to the show. This is episode 11 of season 2 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. The episode's called Ted. It was written by David Greenwald and Josh Whedon, and of course guest starred John Ritter. In this episode, Buffy is unable to warm to her mother's new boyfriend Ted when her escalating conflict has apparently lethal consequences. Buffy's guilt turns to fear. Joyce is in far greater danger than anyone could have imagined. As I said, probably not the strongest episode in the series, but it does for a while go to places where you're not expecting it to go. You know, it's one of these episodes that's a break off from the main storyline of the entire season. One of these standalone episodes. Absolutely brilliant. Buffy's mother, Joyce, introduces her new friend Ted Buchanan, who is a computer software salesman, to Buffy. He tells Buffy that he's been seeing Joyce for quite some time now, and Buffy becomes uncomfortable with Ted's 1950s sitcom mannerisms and is not impressed by his offer of miniature golf. This guy is kind of like in Joyce's eyes, like the perfect man, and of course Buffy's having a problem with it because in her ideal world, the only person that she could see her mother being with is her own father, Buffy's own father. That really did sound like I was saying Joyce's father, which would just be sick and awful and terrible, and yes, let's not go there. Everything's all fine and well. Ted's sort of getting onto the great good side of everyone that he meets. You know, Xander, for example, he gives him these miniature pizzas that just taste like heaven and whatnot. Like, he just seems to be able to turn his hand to absolutely everything that he does, and nobody can find a fault in this guy. But when Ted catches Buffy cheating at miniature golf, he switches and he threatens to actually hit her if she doesn't do what he tells her to do, and it just shows like a real psycho split personality side to himself. And this happens a few times throughout the episode, and of course nobody else but Buffy sees this. Like, he just if he switches, it's always towards Buffy and nobody else. That night after the miniature golf sequence, Buffy beats a vampire to an unusually bloody pulp before killing it, worrying Giles that something is troubling her. Buffy asks Angel for his take on things, and he says that her mother needs a man in her life and that she should give him the benefit of the doubt. The golf outing, of course, does go poorly, and when Buffy tries to, I skipped ahead in my notes there, sorry about that. Buffy talks her way into Ted's workplace. You know, she's trying to dig up some dirt in this guy because he can't be as clean as he seems to be, you know. So he's got the Scooby Gang, Willow and Xander researching to see what they can find on him. They find this place where he works at, and an envious co-worker tells her that he's an unbeatable salesman that they have nicknamed the Machine, which is the giveaway, really. in this episode. She also learns that he is making plans for a wedding in 2 months' time. At dinner, Ted denies the engagement. Buffy pretty much just tackles him dead on. Are you guys engaged? But Ted denies it, and he says, if things go as he hopes, maybe they will at some point. Buffy slips out for some slaying, and on her return finds Ted in her bedroom, has gone through all her stuff and has actually read her diary. He threatens to tell Joyce about the Slayer unless she toes the line. She defies him and he slaps her, and Buffy's like, I was hoping that you would do that. And the resultant brawl, Joyce gets involved trying to break it up. Ted and Buffy are fighting on the top floor of the house, and Ted is knocked down the stairs, and Joyce declares him dead when she cannot find a pulse. So there's where we get into that territory we weren't expecting in this episode. It's a very, very well told episode, and up to this point, this guy just seems to be like a split personality head case. But at this point, the hero of the show, Buffy, is looking into the face of the fact that she's the vampire slayer, but she's now killed a human, or so she thinks. The day after a talk with the police, Buffy is in the haze of guilt. Willow, Xander and Cordelia dig deeper into Ted's life, discovering Ted's cookies that he's been giving out were drugged. That's why people were falling for his good guy act. He was actually applying them with slight drugs in the chocolate chip cookies that he was baking and giving out to people. Cordelia finds Ted had 4 wives since 1957, all of whom have since disappeared. That night, while Giles patrols, high school teacher Jenny Calendar surprises him and apologises for avoiding him. A vampire attacks and a bit of a comedy moment. Of course, the whole lead up to this section of the episode was, things haven't been good between Miss Calendar and Giles after the whole demon possession thing that she went through because of his past. They have been kind of, he's been kind of making her uncomfortable of how often he's trying to come to see if she's okay or not. And at this point of the episode, she makes the move to actually, try and smooth things over. But a vampire attacks, and Jenny accidentally shoots Giles with a crossbow. Giles, only slightly injured, takes the shaft out of his own body and uses it to stake the vampire. And they kind of have a, he's not badly injured, but he has to go to the hospital. And they kind of have a moment where they kind of laugh it off us, and only hear this sort of thing kind of happen. But anyway, back home, Buffy's house, she's she's been sent to her room. She's not allowed to go out. Of course, she decides to sneak out the bedroom window again, but finds that her mother has actually nailed them shut. And in her bedroom, Buffy finds a reanimated Ted in her room, and they fight again. And upon cutting him, Buffy discovers that Ted is a robot. Ted knocks Buffy unconscious and escapes to find Joyce, but the damage he has sustained in the fight has left him erratic. Ted confronts an astonished Joyce. I was going to say Josh there. Ted confronts Joyce in the kitchen, but as he malfunctions, he reveals his true intentions. As Joyce resists, I keep saying her name wrong. As Joyce resists, Ted becomes violent and knocks her out. Buffy then awakens and knocks Ted out with a frying pan, killing him. There's some really good visual effects for its day on this episode. The first time she had some of the frying pan, like she rips the side of his face, and you kind of get that Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator sort of a vibe, but in a much lower budget. And of course, the second slap with the frying pan kills him. Meanwhile, the Scooby Gang investigates Ted's bunker, which is decorated in 1950s style. Xander finds Ted's previous 4 wives all dead. The next day, the gang returns to school with Buffy cleared of all charges and discuss their discoveries about Ted. Apparently the real Ted was a sickly but brilliant inventor in the 1950s whose wife left him. In desperation, he built a robot version of himself. Then the robot went into kidnapping Ted's wife and held her captive in his bunker until she died. The robot then sought out other women resembling Ted's dead wife and repeated the process until it met Joyce. Why can I not say her name properly? It's a good episode. It's not the strongest one, as I said, but it's very well told and very well written. And again, John Ritter, definitely, he made this episode what it was, and I don't think anybody else playing the role in this episode could have done the justice that John Ritter did to it. He had that way of being, the real lovable father type, as you did see in some of the sitcoms that he did on his own, starring roles. But that switch to the psychopathic killer as well, he sold that incredibly well too. It's just a very, very good episode, and it's definitely not one to skip over in the series, even though I said it's not one of the strongest ones. It's definitely worth watching. Very, very good. Anyway, that's going to do it for this episode, guys. I'll talk to you again tomorrow. This has been a production of Coins Age Media. Thank you so much for listening.